Is Rajesh. Okay, welcome all the distinguished guests. We have a lot of distinguished guests, starting with Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Health, Professor Vijay Raghavan, the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Prime Minister, Mr. Hari Menon, Director, India of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Prasanna Joshi, uh, who more than anything else is the most creative man in India, Mr. Rajesh Bhushan, our would-be health secretary, and Vikram Doraiswamy from External Affairs, Mr. Harish, and all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm particularly delighted that we have a lot of civil society organizations with us today, a lot of NGOs who've joined us today. So we greatly appreciate the laudable work done by all the civil society organizations and our development partners in association with the district and the state administrations. In the midst of this crisis, this pandemic, these civil society organizations have done a remarkable work, and we greatly appreciate their initiative, their dynamism, and the tremendous energy they brought in. They've all done an incredible work in mitigating the problems of people and in combating the outbreak of COVID-19. Your active participation added immense value to the initiatives of the government in combating the outbreak, especially now when India has unlocked. And as India unlocks, one key challenge for all of us is how do we encourage public and institutions to practice COVID-safe behaviors? As we continue to open up vigorously, and it's important to open up for the sake of our economy and for livelihoods, it is also important for us to keep ourselves very safe. There is a higher expectation now than ever before from each one of us to practice COVID-safe behaviors. And until a vaccine is available, wearing face masks along with practicing hand hygiene and social distancing will be extremely important to slow the spread of coronavirus. Scientific studies have shown coronavirus transmits primarily through respiratory droplets. A single cough can produce up to 3,000 droplets, some of which stay suspended in air for hours together. Particularly use of face masks has proven to block up to 90% plus of droplets and aerosol. Therefore, physical distancing, masks and sanitizers are the best vaccines. Our empowered group and Ministry of Health have worked together in the unlock period, and we should give a big push, nudge for desired social behavior change, in which enforcement burden shifts from government to the citizens of India. Niti Aayog, in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Center for Social and Behavioral Change, have made an effort to provide people with prompt and simple, easy practice ideas of designing their environment in such a manner that practicing these behaviors become extremely easy and simple. We are here today to launch the portal, which would host all the relevant material to push the campaign named Navigating the New Normal. I am extremely thankful to Mr. Prasanna Joshi, who's the CEO and CEO McCann World Group, but more than anything else, he's one of the most creative people in the world. and we have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Hari Menon, who's supported us fully in the initiative. And I particularly wanted to thank Archana Vyas for joining us all and becoming a partner with the government in this initiative. So thank you. And Pavan Bakshi, of course, thank you all very much. I would now request my colleague, Mr. Alok Kumar, to set the context.
Thank you so much, sir. Can we have the presentation, please? So today we are about to launch this campaign, which we have thought of as or characterized as the new normal, embracing and navigating the new normal. Next slide, please. So as you are aware, behavioral insights is now one of the key forces that are driving multiple governments and looking at multiple has been adopted by multiple governments to solve a variety of problems. Traditionally, the governments have focused on the supply side issues, but very little focus has been given on the demand side, those who accept the government policies or the government benefits. So this is about looking at the demand side of the equation and try and influence behaviors or try and influence people to adopt behaviors that would improve the effectiveness of government policies. So NITI Aayog had entered into a partnership with CSPC Ashoka Center for Social and Behavioral Change at Ashoka University and Bill Gates Foundation in November 2019. The idea was, of course, to solve a lot of government problems, but then COVID happened, and therefore the first product which we have released through this partnership is this current campaign, which is called as the Navigating the New Normal. And this is about leveraging partnership with multiple agencies who are working on the behavioral insights problem through different means. But because of the current nature of the crisis that we are, the first campaign that we have launched is around COVID-19. Next. So this is what it is. It is called Navigating the New Normal, and the website which will post a lot of materials around that is www.covidthenewnormal.com. On this material, this is a platform actually. We will try and collect all kinds of behavioral campaigns that could inform and educate our people as we move into the unlock period, because while economy is important, lives are even more important, and therefore we need to open up the economies in a safe way, and we need everybody to follow those safe procedures, because they are not only endangering themselves but also endangering everybody else. So in the initial part, we have looked at 5 major things: mask wearing, physical distancing, hand hygiene, then it is
anti-spitting.
Anti-spitting, and finally about common protective behavior. So as we open up, we need everybody in the society to follow these norms. So there are a whole host of materials which will be available, and as I said, this is a platform. It's a work in progress. This is only an initial start, and everybody is welcome to collaborate and contribute material for this. And also everybody is welcome to draw upon these materials to spread the message as far into the community as possible. So there will be videos, there will be arrangements in, for instance, in Anganwadis, in PHCs, in common metro, in common areas with mass transport, how you can use them, and in common places. And these are suggestive of what governments and institutions can do to maintain physical distancing while delivering their services. And I particularly want to emphasize the 4R model. And the first of the 4 R's is the responsibility of enforcement needs to go from the government to the society itself. citizens. So the citizens become not only the compliers, but they also become the enforcers. So we need to create social norms around these safe behaviors. The second R2 is reminder, because the messages tend to get lost as time progresses. People start taking it lightly. They don't understand the implications of violating those norms, and therefore it has to be constant reminder. The third R is reprimand, which is essentially about trying to point out if somebody is deviating from the desired norm, but we don't want vigilantism, and therefore the fourth R is also important, that the reminder has to be done in a very respectful manner. And therefore, this 4R model, this is what informs our campaign around navigating the new normal. And we need to pass on the baton from the government, the police, and the administration onto the common citizens. And it has to become a citizens' movement. So there are whole hosts of material. I'm not going to, delve in detail. But the first campaign that we are doing is around promoting mask wearing, and McCann and Associates, of which Prasoon is the head, they have designed the campaign. They will, as in a later part of the function, they will release it. But this is around giving messages as to why mask wearing is important and how we can respectfully confront those people who don't observe this particular behavior. So thank you so much. Before a word of acknowledgement, before I end, I am particularly thankful to Hari and her team, Archana, and all the others in the Gates Foundation. But even more so, and McCann Associates, which I've already mentioned, they designed the campaign in a very short period of time with full passion and commitment. But the centerpiece of all this effort was Pawan Mambidi's team at CSPC and Ashoka University. He's invisible, but his contribution is immense, and his team. And I also want to acknowledge the contribution made by the Health Ministry, the Urban Development Ministry, and the WCD Ministry, because they have been working with us almost on a 24/7 basis to give final shape to this campaign. And finally, a word of appreciation for our team here, Rakesh Ranjan, Somitro, Yogita, and Sayukta and her team. So thank you so much. Sir, I hand it over.
Yeah. So we now have, may I now request my colleague, OSD Health, Mr. Rajesh Bhushan, who's been earlier Secretary Rural Development and will soon be taking over as Secretary Health. Rajesh Bhushan, please. Is he there?
He has joined.
Huh?
He has
Hear me
joined.
now?
Yeah. Yeah, Rajesh.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Member Health Neeti, Honorable Chief Executive Officer Neeti, the distinguished colleagues who have come together on this occasion. To use Alok's analogy, we have already traversed the first 3 weeks of Unlock 1. And what we have seen is that although the infection is still concentrated in certain specific geographical areas, about 55 odd districts accounting for 80% of the infection across the country. But the total number of active cases are increasing, and there are scattered cases across 733 districts. So therefore, it becomes important that the COVID appropriate behavior, or as CEO Neeti has just said, COVID safe behavior, has to be reinforced and has to be done in such a manner that it gets deep into our daily routine existence, and it does not appear as if it is something which is being imposed artificially. So while we interact in our workplaces, while we proceed with our life during this new normal, we wear masks, we maintain social distance, we indulge in frequent washing of hands with soap and water. Although sanitizer is more glamorous, but it does, has a toll on your skin. So therefore, soap and water is a much better option. And also how to institutionalize all these behavioral changes in large organizations, whether within government or outside. What is the role that our local grassroots institutions, including panchayati raj bodies, urban local bodies, civil society organizations could play collectively? And that is where Niti's initiative in the shape of this portal that will get launched today, which has brought diverse stakeholders onto one single platform, becomes important. We are one with this intervention, and we would always be available both within the ministry and outside it to help and strengthen this effort. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh, and we wish you a great innings as Health Secretary of India. You'll take us to new heights. Thank you so much. We will now have the launch and short video of the campaign, and we'll request all the dignitaries to kindly join us.
कोरोना वैश्विक महामारी से जीतना है तो हमें कुछ नई आदतों के साथ जीना सीखना होगा। आज जब हम बाहर निकल रहे हैं तो हमारी सबसे बड़ी ढाल है मास्क। खुद को और दूसरों को बचाने के लिए मास्क एक कारगर उपाय है। अगर किसी ने मास्क नहीं पहना तो वो खुद के साथ साथ दूसरों के लिए भी खतरा है। इसलिए आज हम एक कैंपेन शुरू कर रहे हैं। ये कैंपेन हर किसी को देगा जिम्मेदारी कि देश में कोई भी बिना मास्क ना दिखे। बिना मास्क किसी को देखो तो चुप मत रहो, उसे टोको। और इस कैंपेन के चेंज एजेंट्स हैं देश के बच्चे। इस कैंपेन की शुरुआत होगी एक एंथम के साथ।
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें। मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे। मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे। चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, चलो मिलकर साथ संभलते हैं, नई सच्चाई में ढलते हैं। सावन को अपनाएंगे, धोएंगे हाथ और धुलाएंगे, बस खड़े खड़े ना देखेंगे। मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे। ये सच है नई चुनौती है, मिलकर हमको लड़ना होगा। जीवन की है परवाह अगर, तो कुछ बातों पर अड़ना होगा। सिर्फ दूरी अपनाएंगे, नई रीतियाँ सिखलाएंगे, सबके बारे में सोचेंगे। मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे। मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
इस कैंपेन का नारा है मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे। हमारे मैसेज सबको देंगे जिम्मेदारी कि कोई भी बिना मास्क ना रहे। प्रिंट, आउटडोर, सोशल मीडिया और डिजिटल मीडियम से मास्क को सही से पहनना भी हमें सीखना और सिखलाना होगा। उसके तरीके बताएंगे हम।
मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को
मास्क के इस मैसेज को हम हर ओर ले जाएंगे।
मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
Yeah. I would now request Mr. Hari Menon to kindly speak.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Gates Foundation, I just want to express my gratitude to the Government of India for the opportunity to partner. I think partnership has been a hallmark of the government's COVID-19 response, and we are grateful to work alongside the NITI Aayog, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of WCD, Urban Affairs, etc., on this important campaign. And none of this would have been possible, of course, without the team from CSBC and the partnership of McCann Worldwide. So as India has inched back into, unlock one, as Rajesh Bhushanji said, I think our national response has, been dynamic and evolved to the new reality that, as people get back to work, as essential services for health and nutrition resume, that people will have to get back to something like normal. But as our Honorable Prime Minister has said, there will be a pre-corona and a post-corona era. And I think the new normal signals that in the world of corona, normal is not what used to be, but something very new. And I think this initiative that NITI is leading is a great one to emphasize the understanding to people that the only way to stay protected and to protect the ones you love is by adopting behaviors. And it's a few important behaviors. I think the good part for India is, because we've had over the last few years several of these Jan Andolans where the community have gotten involved in campaigns like sanitation and nutrition. I think this is another call to action, as Alok Kumarji said, the enforcement now moves from government to the community. The only way all of this succeeds is, if people consider it their duty to protect others and be protected by others. And that's what this campaign really seeks to, underline. I think the partnership of all of the actors who are on this call, the 92,000 civil society organizations, partners from the philanthropic sector, private sector, and of course all of government will be critical for success. And we will, of course, see more and more content come out. But I think the notion of launching the new website today is also to open up the creativity to all of India's creative forces. Of course, my colleague Archana Vyas, who leads our behavior change work, has been working with CSBC to make sure that important insights around behavioral research help inform the creatives that come out. And I think the purpose of this website is really to create an open source platform where we can have content from different parts of India in different languages that can be used for all of the different purposes that will now be required, for people who are going back to work, for people who will be going to health facilities, for people going to Anganwadi centers, for people who might start using public transport once that's available. There'll be lots of different use cases and scenarios. And as we've looked around the world, there are no proven models to go. So I think, India, with our heterogeneity and variety, we'll have an opportunity to be a path breaker here as well, to come up with content that will work in very different settings for lots of different audiences. And I think the only way all of this happens is through the power of partnership. So deeply grateful to have this opportunity. And thank you so much to the NITI Aayog for taking the leadership on this important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. अब मैं प्रसन्न जोशी जी से गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो अपने विचार प्रकट करें और हमें इस कैंपेन का जिंगल सुनाएं।
तो अमिताभ जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। इसका ये जो कैंपेन है, ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण कैंपेन है. आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एज वी enter from lock to unlock, India. And I think it also, as we call it new normal, I mean, it could be called a new abnormal as well. And we have a lot a lot of challenges in front of us as we enter this phase. And there is a behavioral change required. So I thank all the people, I mean, especially BMGF, who have partnered us and you in this initiative, and Ashoka University, which has given such invaluable inputs in this. But the essence of this is there is a public behavior and there is a private behavior. We've been talking about, I've been working on through my poetry and music also. You would have seen that, whether it's staying at home or those things were concerned after Honorable Prime Minister's message. One feels that we have to keep reinforcing these messages. The thing is that, जिसे हम कहते हैं हिंदी में परिलक्षित होना, चीज को बिहेवियर में आपके रिफ्लेक्ट होना. कब बिहेवियर में रिफ्लेक्ट होता है? जब तक, unless you tiptoe into the subconscious of these people, and unless it becomes part of your everyday life. So unselfconsciously things we do. Sometimes I've seen people stepping out of the homes without realizing that they're not wearing a mask. And somebody points out to them and they realize, because जब तक आपके को दर्द नहीं होता, आपको दूसरे का दर्द वो दिखाई नहीं देता. तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी धमनियों में, आपकी शिराओं में, आपके रक्त में वो चीज प्रवेश करनी चाहिए, वो मैसेज घुसना चाहिए. तो कोशिश ये है, और ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मैसेज इस टाइम पे हमें लगा, वो मास्क पहनने का मैसेज है. साबुन से हाथ धोने की हम बात कर रहे हैं, सैनिटाइजेशन की हम बात कर रहे हैं, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग की बात कर रहे हैं. आप लोगों ने खुद कई प्लेटफॉर्म पे बात की है. तो आई थिंक what was important, we felt that मास्क पहनने को किसी तरह बिहेवियर में लाया जाए. अभी भी the seriousness we require towards wearing mask is not there. कई लोगों को अगर ग्रास रूट में जाते हैं तो कई बार लगता है लोग इसको तामझाम समझते हैं. एक तामझाम जिसे कहते हैं कि क्या भी मास्क पहनना पड़ेगा, कुछ इचिंग हो रही है, कुछ ऐसा हम कपड़े पहनने में तो फील नहीं करते हैं. मानव सभ्यता ने कई डिसीजन लिए हैं, कई निर्णय लिए हैं, पर वो निर्णय हमने अब स्वीकार कर लिए हैं. तो कैसे ये न्यू, rather than post COVID, with COVID जो रियलिटी है, how to live with COVID. It's not post COVID, it's not over yet. So how do we induct people in this new behavioral code, ये नई आचार संहिता लोगों तक कैसे पहुंचे? इसके लिए ये हमने we felt that if we take this message to kids कि मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, बिकॉज बहुत सी चीजें कह सकते हैं. कैन वी मेक इट अ मूवमेंट, ऑलमोस्ट मेक इट अ सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू टेल ईच अदर, यार मास्क पहनना चाहिए, व्हाई नॉट वेयरिंग मास्क? बिकॉज पीपल थिंक दैट मास्क इज फॉर देयर प्रोटेक्शन. वी हैव टू मेक देम अंडरस्टैंड दैट मास्क इज फॉर एवरीवन, इज फॉर द अदर पर्सन्स प्रोटेक्शन एज वेल. सो एज अ सोसाइटी we'll have to accept it, we'll have to embrace it, and we'll have to reflect it in our behavior. So this campaign is necessarily talking about that. The song you already heard, I will read out the words of this. This is like sung with very innocent kind of tune, not very complicated. Is चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे. चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, चलो मिलकर साथ संभलते हैं, नई सच्चाई में ढलते हैं. साबुन को अपनाएंगे, धोएंगे, हाथ धुलाएंगे, बस खड़े खड़े ना देखेंगे, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे. So like this goes on, and then we have also made the kids co-opt with the people who filter, like एक जो गार्ड हैं सोसाइटी के बाहर, or other influences in the society, where kids are requesting them, uncle इनको अंदर मत आने देना, please check. So the campaign is a very natural campaign where kids are taking this message out to people, also giving message which an adult will say will sound offensive, कि यार आप मास्क नहीं पहन के आप हीरो नहीं लग रहे हैं, आप गैर जिम्मेदार लग रहे हैं. So these are the kind of messages which we want to sort of communicate. The whole campaign is digitally, mass media, everywhere we are trying to sort of target it. Once again, I want to thank BMGF, Archana, and Hari for their contribution, and Mr. Kant, as always, whatever you take in hand, it is bound to be impactful. And I wish my best wishes for all of you.
Thank you, Prasanji. Thank you so much. So kind of you. We have a number of our members. This has been driven by Empowered Group 6. We have several of our members. Mr. Kamal Kishore, who's member of the National Disaster Management. Mr. Anil Malik, Additional Secretary MHA. Mr. Rahul Shrestha, Joint Secretary PMO. Mr. Vikram Duraiswamy. Mr. Harish, both are additional secretaries in MEA, Mr. Sandeep Bhatnagar, member of the Central Board of Excise and Customs, Tina Soni from Cabinet Secretariat. Anybody who would like to comment and say something, you're most welcome. All of you, please, we'd like to hear you, please. Any member who would like to say anything? Okay. We have a number of NGOs, our partners who have also joined us today. We have a number of NGOs who have joined us today. May I request any NGOs who would like to comment on anything?
Hi, I'm Shishir Joshi. Yes.
Please go ahead.
I'm Shishir. I represent an organization called Project Mumbai, which is, as Prasood said, and as you pointed out, it's a collaborative platform between public and state as a model. What I've felt is a very nice way of involving children, and just another offshoot, if I could add, and somewhere leaving a thought behind for all of us here. What we have tried out are two areas. One is the space of mental health, and the second is the space of involving children in protecting senior citizens within our community. Because while we do agree that masks are so important and मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, ये तो बात बहुत ही बेहतरीन बात है, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ बहुत से ऐसे लोग इस समुदाय में आज हैं जो वल्नरेबल कम्युनिटीज कहलाए जा सकते हैं, जो सीनियर सिटीजन्स हैं. क्या हम इन बच्चों के जरिए जहां लोगों को मास्क न पहनने पर टोक रहे हैं, वहीं इन बच्चों के जरिए सीनियर सिटीजन्स को हम अगर बड़ीज बनाते हैं और उनकी सहायता भी करें, क्योंकि एक बहुत बड़ा समुदाय आज इंडिया में है जो सीनियर सिटीजन्स भी है और उनकी परेशानियां कुछ अलग है कोविड के कारण. जो प्रसून ने कहा, वी आर लिविंग विद कोविड, इट्स नॉट अ पोस्ट कोविड सिनेरियो, और इसके चलते उन पर जो कहर एक तरह से ढा चुका है. बहुत से वरिष्ठ सीनियर सिटीजन्स हैं जो अकेले न भी रहते हो, उन्हें इस वायरस का बहुत ही अलग डर रह भी गया है, बाहर भी नहीं निकल पाते क्योंकि भीड़ इतनी है और उनकी परेशानियां हैं. Just leaving a thought that somewhere in the new normal of behavior that we are talking about, can we look at getting children involved in looking after the senior citizens of this country? Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Can I make an observation about it?
और कोई एनजीओ अपने विचार प्रकट करना
हाँ, मैं ही कह रहा था.
मिस्टर अमोद कंठ हमारे डीजीपी थे पहले. मिस्टर अमोद कंठ.
नहीं, हम लोग हमारे कोई अभी जो वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को आपने एक्टिवेट किया है, you know, because of this committee only and because of initiative taken by Niti Aayog, you talked about 92,000 voluntary organizations. They have been activated already. They are doing some work or the other. So now, for example, there are nearly 9,000 homes for children, which look after about 3 lakh children, and they are already there in these homes. इसके अलावा हमारे बहुत बड़ी संख्या में हमारे कम्युनिटी में प्रोग्राम्स चल रहे हैं, बच्चों के प्रोग्राम चल रहे हैं. तो जो वैसे तो स्कूल बंद हैं, लेकिन ये जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से एक्टिव है, और जैसे प्रयासी हमारी संस्था है, तो कोई 5,000 लोग हमारे साथ रह रहे हैं, हमारे होम शेल्टर्स में, कम्युनिटीज़ में रह रहे हैं. और वो लोग, हम ये देख रहे हैं कि वी आर वेरी वेरी होपफुल एंड वी आर वेरी इनकरेज्ड अबाउट इट दैट एक्चुअली द यूज़ ऑफ मास्क एंड द बेसिक प्रिकॉशंस हैव रियली टेकन ए शेप. लेकिन थोड़ा सा मैं समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि जो ये जिंगल या ये जो प्रोग्राम हम लॉन्च कर रहे हैं, इनको हम उन बच्चों तक, इनको हम उन लोगों तक कैसे लेके जाएं जो ऑलरेडी कम्युनिटी में हैं, क्योंकि अब ये सवाल कम्युनिटी का है. हम लोग ओपन कम्युनिटी सिचुएशन में आ चुके हैं, तो ये बहुत बड़ी संख्या में किस ढंग से इस मैसेज को हम वहाँ तक पहुँचाएं, और फिर जो हमारे यूजुअल तरीके हैं, आपको पता है कि वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सॉन्ग एंड डांस एंड म्यूजिक is the lifeline of voluntary organizations. Most of the voluntary organizations and the children, they play, they sing, they dance, and I can see, मैं यहाँ पे मेरा जो ऑफिस है उसमें 60 girls from various very very difficult situations they come and live. मैं पहले देख रहा था शाम में कि वो लोग मास्क नहीं लगा रहे थे इसको, लेकिन धीरे धीरे उन्होंने मास्क को, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को अपने पूरे एक्टिविटी का पार्ट बना दिया, और वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। तो मेरा सिर्फ ये कहना है कि हम किस ढंग से इस प्रोजेक्ट के मार्फत ये जो मैसेज हम दे रहे हैं, यहाँ पे जो प्रोग्राम बना रहे हैं, इसके कंटेंट को, इसके प्रोग्राम को, प्रसून जोशी देश के सबसे माने जाने एक ऐसे व्यक्तित्व हैं जिनको मालूम है कि कम्युनिकेट कैसे किया जाता है। हम लोग तैयार हैं, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि हमारी ये तमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस तैयार हैं कि हम ऐसे प्रोग्राम्स को एकदम डीप कम्युनिटीज़ में लेके जाएं, वहाँ तक लेके जाएं जहाँ इनकी ज़रूरत है। लेकिन उसका प्रोसेस क्या होगा, शायद उसको थोड़ा हमको देखना पड़ेगा कि किस ढंग से उनको हम लेके जा सकेंगे। ये सही है कि ऑलरेडी हम कर रहे हैं इस काम को।
नहीं, मैं आपसे चर्चा करूंगा इसके बारे में, और आप सब लोगों को इस कार्यक्रम में इन्वॉल्व करेंगे, और सारे 92,000 एनजीओज और सिविल सोसाइटी पार्टनर्स सबको हम इन्वॉल्व करेंगे। रवि पोखरना कुछ बोलना चाहते थे।
सर आई जस्ट मतलब सबने सजेशंस दिए, इन बिटवीन सजेशन I just thought nobody should forget congratulating the team for a wonderful jingle. And first of all, this realization, I think the experience of Swachh Bharat and the gas subsidy campaigns showed us that how behavioral change is the key to what we are trying to achieve today. And it's a very beautiful jingle that has come out really well. I think it will do what is expected out of. And I also want to, you are aware about the India COVID Action Network. But today only we will be writing to all 3,500 NGOs asking them to use these videos extensively. So thanks to the team.
Thank you, thank you. और कोई
Can I just come in?
विचार प्रकट कर, प्लीज।
जी मैं बोलूं?
Hello.
बोलिए।
I'm Dr.
So I just wanted to applaud the efforts of all the organizations and dignitaries here, led by Amitabh ji, Niti Aayog, and I am Dipali from ActionAid and representing on behalf of Mr. Chat in the meeting today. So it's really so nice to see the launch of this campaign, and much needed. I think the whole country needs this campaign, and coming from the top leadership, I think this will make a really big difference, and to help organizations like us to take it to the ground across. And particularly if I speak for ActionAid, because ActionAid has its presence across the country in about 228 districts that we are working, we are very happy to take this forward and be part of this campaign across the country. And just to also add that some of the other members have mentioned that our focus will remain on some of the most interior, some of the most communities who otherwise are left out of this kind of approach and who do not get the opportunity, because they are also, everybody needs to contribute this, everybody needs to come together, because COVID is such that anybody affected is like all of us are endangered. So which is where it is very important, and this huge army of volunteers, I think, are again a big force. And through these volunteers, I mean, the other Anganwadi workers, the Asha workers, health workers, that will help us create a big force, and with the focus on the most vulnerable, like the women, adolescent girls, children, old people, disabled people. This is where contribution from us, particularly if I speak of ActionAid, one of the larger civil society, will really make difference. We are very happy to be part of this and take this forward along with all organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other NGO who would like to comment? Dr. Sudarshan?
Without Jagdanand here.
Jagdanand ji, boliye, please. Mr. Jagdanand does a lot of work in the villages of Odisha. Bataiye, Chairman sir.
Thank you. I think really delighted the campaign has come out very well, and a campaign of this kind and sort requires, it's like a social mobilization where we are going to be involved. And in a process of social mobilization, you need a very powerful message, which has been done. But secondly, you need a team of social mobilizers. So I think what we need is this message, since it is all done, the jingle is done, very well, messaging has been carved out. We need to also prepare a little message for the social mobilizers, how to take this to the masses, So that is the second bit of work which has to be done quickly so that, social mobilizers are trained to take this campaign to the masses actually in a big way. And my last point is, like helmet taking by the police, when they see a traffic police, you put a helmet. So like that, when somebody thokta hai, so then you put a what you call mask. But mask is a life. So ये message और कहीं थोड़ा सा इसमें थोड़ा tweaking चाहिए. Without mask, no life. Life is mask, and mask without mask, there is no life. Something like that. If the creative team can think of, that can be more powerful actually. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is Mr. Srinath or Shireen from Tata Trust here?
Hello.
Sudarshan.
Hello.
From Karnataka.
Dr. Kokhare.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I'm Dr. Sudarshan from Karnataka Trust. I'm happy the NGOs are being now partnered and brought into this important time. And we look forward to it. But I feel there should be more specific terms for village health and sanitation committees. Some of us who work in the primary health, comprehensive primary health care, we can use them. So the approach there to cover a large number of people involving others and the village health and sanitation committees. Schools are also important, but as you know, schools are not functional. So specific messages to PSHNC groups, how they can be empowered to manage the whole thing in the villages and also in the wards, MSS in the wards, in the urban primary health centers is very important. Karnataka Trust is now working with 1.5 people comprehensive health care. We're taking this message to all of them. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. May I now request Mr. Sudarshan of Karnataka Trust, Dr. Sudarshan?
Yes, I just now spoke.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So thank you with these, thank you to all the NGOs who have joined us. We greatly appreciate all the civil society members. May I now request the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Dr. Professor K. Vijay Raghavan, to kindly speak.
Thank you very much, Amitabh, Dr. Paul, and everyone here. This is a fantastic initiative. As Dr. Paul will vouch, the disease will spread in an unmitigated manner unless we effectively increase distancing. And masks and hygiene are an effective way of increasing distancing even in crowded areas. So this is very important. And wearing masks can reduce the spread of disease so much that it can actually help greatly in crushing it. This is very important. I'd like to congratulate Prasoon and his team, the Gates Foundation, and everyone else for what they've done. The website looks terrific. I would just also request that by crowdsourcing, we should translate jingle into every Indian language, publicize it through every channel so that everyone sees this in their own language, hears this in their own language, and it becomes part of their lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Vijay Raghavan. May I now request our mentor and guide, Dr. V.K. Paul, member Niti Aayog, to kindly guide us.
Thank you, Amitabh ji. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I congratulate all the people who have made this campaign possible, this initiative possible. Particular thanks to our colleagues at BMGF, at CSBC, and of course, very special Prasoon Joshi ji. Thank you so much for taking forward this one major campaign. We look forward to several others, as Alok ji, you outlined for all of us, special themes that you refer to. I would like to make 2 points. One point, I have the opportunity of reaching out to so many NGOs, and through you, a very large number of people whom you influence and whom you take along in this social mobilization campaign. And what I wish to tell you is very simple, and my cue is from what Vijay Raghavanji said. Uh, remember, virus loves people. It moves from one person to the other. It loves communities. It loves dense populations. It loves our irresponsible behavior. But when we are looking at what will happen to humanity or our nation or our villages, ultimately is dependent on not the will of the virus. It is dependent on how we behave collectively. And among the many things that need to be done, the top of the list is what we may like to call as COVID safe behavior. Because if we create a distance, let's say, or we create a barrier like mask and eventually perhaps a barrier like vaccine, it becomes difficult for the virus to infect you. It doesn't move from one to the other. When we were in lockdown stage, we were not crossing the Lakshman Rekha of our household. So how will the virus come to our family or go out from our family? It was contained. This is the fundamental principle that we are now enunciating in our fight to control this pandemic. Remember, we are fighting this war as of today with practically very little modern systems coming into mainstream. We are fighting this with the ingenuity of humanity, common sense, and the tools which are very fundamental tools, namely prevent yourself, create a distance, don't allow it to be spread. And the very heart of this campaign is truly the behavior that will be seen as important for us to make it difficult for the virus to traverse from one person to the other. In an ideal world, the virus will not move from one to the other if we have created and fortified these behaviors. And therefore, remember, till we have more modern gadgets, and Dr. Vijay Raghavan and his team are working so hard to have those, the gains of technology, but that will only come in future. Till that time, we have no kavach. Our kavach is only preventing this from moving from one person to the other, which means the right behaviors and I would say very scientifically, the key behaviors that would change the trajectory of the virus have been outlined in the approach that has been taken for this virus. Very importantly, therefore, remember, in a sense, what I'm saying is what the virus wants to know, we know. It wants to infect all of us because all of us are susceptible. It will take its own toll till the so-called herd immunity will come when 65% of us are infected and the remaining 35% would not even need the vaccine. But we will not allow this virus to infect so many of us. We will not. And that is the whole name of the game. We will make it difficult for the virus. We will contain this disease to the maximum possible. We will push the peak and lower the peak as much as possible. And that, above all, comes from the behavior. Just to complete the list of other 3 or 4 pillars, it is a surveillance strategy, contact tracing, containment, isolation. It is a care of those who unfortunately will contract a serious disease. And of course, it is also about how we are able to mobilize communities and impose the governance systems. But on top of this list is truly the preventive approach, the heart and the soul of the initiative. I would just like to, second part, I'll just make a couple of suggestions for us as we move forward and as we increase the menu of our campaign threads. Firstly, something very obvious that we need languages, other languages to be coming in for this jingle and beyond. I would urge that we improve the visuals of the current video. We should have real children jumping about and stopping us on the road as a complimentary thing. We will get time to do so. It's a great beginning. The jingle, by the way, really, I must say, touched my heart in a way because, using the nudge of rokenge is the difference from a standard advertisement for, let's say, Little Soap, which is telling you it's good. But here we are saying, shut up, we are going to impose it, and coming from children. So I would say real creativity at work, and thank you for making it possible. So language, visual, so that they attract attention. We actually see very respectfully children reminding us or reprimanding us. So we also know how to do this. Not the intent, but also a role model of how it should be done. It's a suggestion. The other suggestion for us is that we should look at some of the contextual settings where we want to get the behaviors right. So I'll say the next phase of work could be, if you're all expert, think about it, how I should be behaving on a bus stop, how I should be behaving, let's say in a marketplace, in front of a shop, eventually schools. Teachers may like to know ultimately how they will conduct where there are a large number of individuals. Of course, offices, but I have a special request in that context. We are finding in the NCR region, Amitabh ji, that one of the challenges is, as we are opening up the karkhanas and the industry, then the poor laborer are finding it difficult to have optimum conditions in which they can work and produce goods and services for us. That is a very special place where we have norms for the corporate world, very well-defined large factories. I think we have cracked that. But for small factories, small workplaces, constrained workplaces, दो कमरे में जो हो रहा है या एक री-रोलिंग मिल है जो फैली हुई है, वहाँ पे जो हमारे भाई बहन हैं, लेबर क्लास वाले हैं, उनको क्या करना अपने लिए और दूसरों के लिए. And yet, to do work in order to push the growth of the country, I would especially like us to think about it. I would like our team to see how that pans out, relate it to them, because that's a large part of our vulnerable population, poor people, and also a very significant part of our growth machine. So I'll request you to kindly look at this. I hope that this jingle will start ringing very soon in TV channels, the government and the non-government. I would hope that we will use the community radios in a very big way. Community radios are very fascinating and very motivated groups of people. They reach where very difficult to reach otherwise. I strongly recommend they be engaged. And we hope that as we build the campaign, there'll be many other strands, and this will be not just a ripple, not just a wave, but also a tsunami of behavior change triggered by this campaign. Thank you so much. Team India, Team Niti, grateful. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Amitabh, can I say one thing? Prasunya.
Please.
Respond to Dr. Paul's request. I think two things which has been coming again and again. It's one is the adaptation in various languages, which is already at work. We definitely are cognizant of it, and we will be working on it. Second thing is, I think I really like the idea of code of conduct for these specialized places like factories and all that. I would, request all of us, we can put our minds together to develop a template, which can be one template, but which would change according to the need of the place, that this is for factories, how to, the code of conduct for here. Very simple, quasi-visual, less use of, complicated language. We should develop a template which can sort of work in various other places. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will try and make this into a mass movement. Yogita Kaulu's
and
here.
mask movement.
Yeah.
Mask movement and mask movement.
So mass movement for mask wearing, we will give it a big drive, and we will give it a big thrust and a big impetus, because the jingle is very nice, the creative is very nice, and we will drive this, and as we get more and more languages, we'll push it in a big way, and we'll try and involve all the government machinery in this. And all the 92,000 NGOs who work with us, we will make all the creatives available to all the civil society organizations. They are our partners. They will work with us in many of them work in all regional parts of India. So they will really take this forward. And that will be about community participation. And so thank you very much. मैं आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद प्रकट करना चाहूँगा, खासकर प्रसून जोशी जी का, जिन्होंने बड़ी मेहनत की है आज के कार्यक्रम में, सारी क्रिएटिविटी यही लाए हैं. मैं बिल एंड मेलिंडा गेट फाउंडेशन को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, मैं अशोका यूनिवर्सिटी के पवन जी को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, और सारे एनजीओ जो हमारे साथी हैं, हमारे पार्टनर्स हैं, जो हमारे साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं, डॉक्टर विजय राघवन, साइंटिफिक एडवाइजर टू गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, एम्पावर्ड ग्रुप 6 के सारे मेंबर्स को, और खासकर डॉक्टर पॉल को, डॉक्टर पॉल जो हमारे मेंबर हैं, सबको मैं धन्यवाद दूंगा। और ये कैंपेन खासकर हम एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट, जो हमारे 112 सबसे बैकवर्ड डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हम इसको आगे ले चलेंगे और तुरंत इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सब लोगों का, बहुत बहुत।
शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो